Good afternoon. This is Don Maxwell from Live IT Academy again. Um, Today we'll be working on creating complex formulas in Excel. So there's a couple of rules around creating formulas, but basically when you're working on a spreadsheet that has multiple calculation, you often need to create formulas that contain more than one mathematical operator, right? So for example, we can look at simple formula versus what we call complex formula. A simple formula, simple formula has two terms and one operator, right? It's sort of like I'm adding 1 plus 2 equals 3. That would be simple, right? A more complex formula would be something that has multiple operators. What are operators? Operators are simply the multiplication, division, plus, minus, and so on in arithmetic, mathematic terms anyway. All right. So let's take a look at if we were to calculate profit, for example, a formula would need to calculate the total product sales, right, which is pretty much the product price multiplied by the number of products sold, and then you can subtract any expenses or costs and you get a result, right? So typically that's what we would use Excel spreadsheet for. So in order to understand it further, you have to understand that in math there are rules, right? Mathematical rules about how we calculate numbers. So let's take a look at those. Pretty much the rules surrounded precedence, right? For example, anything in brackets would be calculated first. Anything that is exponential from left to right, calculated second. And multiplication, division, again, from left to right. And then subtraction and addition from left to right, right? And we'll have an image, you can see, that has the precedence on the side as well. So look out for that. All right, so today's lesson, we're going to be, we're challenged with this Eastern Regional Sales Report. And our challenge is to come up with the total sales less any refund amount that was given, right? And that will create a more complex formula, right? So how do we go about it? Well, we first have to select a resultant cell. Now, what is a resultant cell? A resultant cell is the cell in which you want to put your answer. All right, so as I look at the spreadsheet here and get more familiar with it, this says the Eastern Regional Sales Report. It has the sales reps over here, the state, and it looks like first quarter totals from January to February, and looks like they were refunded. So, and again, when we look at spreadsheet, we're looking at each individual record. You can see the names of each person, the state they belong to, and the quarter numbers that they produce, right? And these are sales reps. So imagine they're selling something through January, February, March, and there's a refund. And so we want to know what is the total sales less the refund. So where would we put our resultant cell? Well, it would be right here in G6. All right, so we're going to select that cell. You'll see the dark rim around the cell. Of course, that's my cell pointer, and we say that's an active cell when that happens, right? Now, the next thing that we need to do in order to do a formula is to put the equal sign, right? Type the equal sign. Now, keep in mind that in Excel, if you use the minus or the plus sign, you get the same results of using the equal, but I prefer to use the equal sign because it's an equation, and I traditionally, when I say something is equal to, that's the result that I'm looking for. All right, so the first step, as I said, is to pick the resultant cell, and the next step, I'm simply here going to be calculating the total sales refund for Donna Simpson first, right? So the next step is to select the cell that has January sold, right? So let's pick on January. All right. Now, what do we need to do? We need to add February and March to January. So let's go ahead and type the plus sign. And now we're going to click on February. And we're going to type the plus sign because we're adding that. And we've got to add March as well. So let's click on March and you'll see. Now, what do we need to do with the refund? Well, refund is the negative amount, so we have to subtract that from our total. So let's go ahead, instead of putting a plus sign, we're going to put in a minus sign. And we simply click on the refund cell, right? So notice in the formula bar, there is a formula here and also in the cell, right? And when we press the enter button, if we go ahead and press the enter button, we will see that there is a result in the resulted cell, right? So we have $74,090, which is the January, February, March less the refund. Okay. Now, the advantage of having Excel is that there's something called the fill handle that allows us to fill, like copy formulas and paste them, which makes it a lot easier for us. Instead of doing each record, we can simply use that fill handle. So how do we use that fill handle? Well, we must place the pointer onto the cell with the formula in it. So notice when I enter the formula here and press enter, I'm at the cell G7 just below the G6. Well, I need to go back on G6. Why? Because G6 is where my formula is, see? My formula. Now I'm going to find the fill handle. If you look to the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a tiny square, right where the cell meets. I'm going to place with my cursor because I'm in ready mode. You're familiar with the mouse pointer. So I'm going to point to that fill handle, and when I do, it's a plus sign. You see that plus sign? That means now I'm pointing to that fill handle. So my advantage is just to take the mouse and select that fill handle and drag it all the way until Jerome Stimson, right? Why am I doing that? Well, notice what Excel does. We call these a relative cell reference, right? Because as I drag, the formula will change based on the cells it's associated with, because these are relative cells. The relationship between the cells, right? For example, in G column, these are all going to be G's, but this is going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on, right? So that's going to change accordingly, right? It's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, the reason why that happens is because of this relative cell theory that allows the information to change based on the relative cell. Okay, so that is quickly how we can apply this formula, right, to get the results, right? So whenever we have complex formula, this is the simplest of the complex formula, right? And remember what we said, more than one operator in a formula makes it complex. Okay, so that's our lesson for formulas, complex formulas. We will give a more advanced topic on this in the future. Okay, all right. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you in the next session.